I had the pleasure of speaking with Michelle beforehand, and we completely rewrote her bio. So I'm going to come from the heart on this one, Michelle. I'm sorry if I butcher this. Bottom line is this, folks. Michelle is passionate about making museums open to everybody. And what she mentioned to me was she's tired of this elitist approach to museums. She wants museums that are accessible to everybody, that are welcoming, that are happy, that are stimulating, that make you feel good when you walk in. How was that? Is that good? Okay. With that being said, Michelle has a lot going on. She's a museum educator, an artist, and a mother, all intertwined in a delicate balance of creative endeavors. Visual journals are like a sketchbook, she says. In this PechaKucha talk, Michelle shares how she became addicted to journaling and why you should too. 3 words that describe her: passionate, Leo. I was like, okay, what does that mean? She said, I was born in the month of the lion and the year of the tiger. So fierce. That's what I picked up there. And lastly, creative. Please, everybody help me in welcoming Michelle to the stage. Yes.
Hi, thank you so much. It's an honor to be with so many creative individuals. I've spent my entire career talking about other people's art, but rarely my own. So I'm a bit nervous, but very passionate to share my passion for visual journaling, because I really do believe that anybody can find a way to use visual journaling to tap your creative potential and sort of unlock those good vibrations that we've been talking about tonight. So I'm going to share that with you by touching on 3 points: my own personal transition from sketchbook to journal, some people that inspire me, and finally a layered approach that makes this fit into my everyday life. So like many visual journalists, I'm a bit of a memory hoarder. And this summer I found an old box of letters and found my husband's first love note to me in college, where he's writing about our first road trip, where he's watching me sketch on the docks for hours. And I ran upstairs and found the sketchbook that had these sketches that he's talking about. And I was able to relive that moment through these sketches. Because that's what drawing does for me. It's an opportunity to observe a moment in time and record it in a way that nothing else can do. Now, I still, fast forward a few years and 2 kids, I still took my sketchbook on road trips and used it for preliminary drawings, but weeks could go by without picking up my sketchbook. It had become a nicety until I met 2 guys, David Modler and Eric Scott, who call themselves the Journal Fodder Junkies. So they introduced me to an entire world of visual journaling. And through them, I learned about another photojournalist named Dan Eldon. Google that. That's worth a whole PechaKucha talk in itself. But visual journaling is a different way to live your life through this book. And fodder is what you feed livestock. So journal fodder is what you feed your journal. It's your photographs, stickers, receipts. It's the anything and everything of your life collaged and layered inside these pages. And I've connected with a community of visual journalists here in Raleigh. We get together once a month for journal play dates at Jerry's Artorama. It's a potluck of food, drink, and fodder, where mixed media artist Ophelia Stanton sort of takes all of the stuff we brought and says, okay, we're gonna use this vintage magazine, this paint Jerry's is letting us sample, oh, and here's some stencils I brought from home. And we get to see what everyone brings to it differently. It took me a couple of years to customize my journal for my type A personality. I was used to taking around that Franklin Covey organizer, so at the beginning of every journal, I include a table of contents. So you know I can look and find exactly where my meeting notes were for an upcoming exhibition or a project or something else. I've even begun to customize niches at the front of my journals to include my pens, my Post-it notes, my watercolor things, and most recently, my smartphone. So I've had to make this fit my life, and I take my journal everywhere with me. The past 2 journals have replaced my pocketbook. I literally experimented with actually putting wallet spaces and experimenting with fabric fusion so I could have magnetic clasp like a purse. So, where do you start with visual journaling, right? I often attack a blank page with color. Sometimes color gesso, watercolor, house paint, whatever I've got around. And then I often come back to those later on with whatever material I have on hand. But there's rarely any blank pages because I spill my entire life in this journal. I carry it with me, I take notes at all of the meetings, and here you can see where I was storyboarding my son's baby book, and then I came back to it a year later and planned out his first birthday party, and then realized this was a great opportunity to reflect on his first year with his handprint. So it's a layered process that is really indicative of my life. And my boys know that they can join me in my visual journal, but there's no sacred drawing. If they draw in my journal, I come back on top of it with color, writing. It's a conversation through art that they've now joined. And these are some of my pages I wanted to share with you. They are reflections on visiting my grandmother's home after she passed away, meeting notes, things that sometimes take months and sometimes an afternoon. Sometimes it begins with an interesting piece of trash that I found, sometimes another road trip. My pages are as multifaceted and complex and sometimes confusing as my life. So, I invite you to go home tonight and find an old Franklin Covey organizer or an old sketchbook, you have something at home, and to splash some color on it and join me in this journey, because I'm still on it. In fact, the day that I submitted my talk to join you today, I was out in the park, actually with Erica Corey at Visual Art Exchange, planning something in our museum park for the street painting, and we heard thunder crash and ran inside, and I left my journal outside. And a jogger found it in our museum park, brought it to security the next morning, sopping wet. I mean, they brought it to me like a family member had passed away. They all know what this journal means to me. And we thought we were gonna have to throw it away because of the mold. But we threw some papers from the recycling bin in it. The bounding had come completely apart, but you know what? I found it lays flat. So from now on, I'm gonna cut my journals open and tear out the binding because this was really awesome. But it took me a couple of days just in the past couple of weeks to come back and layer on top of it. But it's a great metaphor for my life right now. I mean, it's slightly wrinkled. There's some water spots. It's bulging and completely unbound. But I'm living my life day by day and page by page through this journal. Thank you so much.